Hello again, everybody. Zach Attack is here with my WWE Payback review for tonight, Sunday, June 16th, 2013, from the All-State Arena in Chicago, Illinois. And my mind, Payback wasn't that bad of a pay-per-view on paper. I thought this paper, besides one match involving this guy coming back, I thought the pay-per-view on paper was not going to be a good pay-per-view, but it kind of was until the main event. The main event, in my mind, sucked the air out of pay-per-view. Like last month's pay-per-view, the main event sucked it, in my mind. In the match Extreme Rules, I'm talking CENA and RYBAck. No shit. I think everyone expected CENA and RYBAck to suck. 3 stages of hell, more like 3 stages of sleeping, you know. But the match Extreme Rules was not that bad. And as you can read by the title of this video, despite that sucky-ass main event, a lot of shit happened, including 3 new champions tonight, including what I feel is a screw job. Plus a couple heel turns, teased. And of course, like I said, return of Punk, plus another return, SETH for Money in the Bank. Cannot wait until July 14th. Alright, let's kick it off with, well, I missed the pre-show. The only pre-show match I've missed was Mania. But I missed this one. I was a little late. I was watching pay-per-view over a friend's house, saving the money this month. But I missed the pregame. I went late, so I didn't get to see Sheamus and Damian Sandow. Sheamus won. It was kind of stupid to have the match be the pregame, but it could have been worse. Could have been like a title match involving Miz. Well, speaking of title matches involving Miz, let's kick off the pay-per-view. Miz being in a title match finally on the main card, which kicked off with, well, like I said, Miz in a triple threat involving him, Wade Barrett, and Curtis Axel. Now, before I get to that, I want to mention one thing. I bet you everybody who makes a review on this pay-per-view is going to say the same thing. Besides the main event where they sucked it, the crowd sucked their air out. The crowd in Chicago was, I knew Chicago was going to be a good crowd tonight, and it was a pretty good crowd tonight. There were some unique signs and t-shirts, including one that said, WWF, we want Fandango. Well, Fandango was supposed to be in this match, but Curtis Axel replaced him after a concussion, subbed by Fandango. And of course, man who did come back from a concussion, well, like I said, screw job. I'll explain that in a moment when I get to that match. But anywho, it basically, it felt like a handicap match at one point. It was basically Miz and Barrett against, like, teaming up against Curtis Axel, because Curtis Axel got his butt whipped for most of the matchup. And I felt, and I think if you saw my wall review on Monday talking about this, I felt that Curtis Axel, like, the character has only been in development for a few weeks. And I don't think the character was ready for a title so quickly. I felt the same way when Sheamus won the championship after being traded from ECW to Raw when he beat Cena at TLC 09. And I'm glad RYBAck hasn't been champion yet. And he never will be. So Axel got his butt whipped for most of the match. And it's pretty a decent opener. There was some good spots in this matchup. Miz tried to figure form numerous times in this matchup. And but he finally got it on later on, which led to the ending. And despite his lack of appearance, he didn't wrestle. I don't think he wrestled that much, but Axel did perform somewhat well, including delivering the perfect plex. Well, it is Father's Day after all. Happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the fathers out there. And pay tribute to his dad, and of course, perfect tribute would be the end of the matchup, somewhat. As Miz, it was left to Wiz and did I say Wiz? Sorry, Miz and Ray Barrett. Basically, that to them two. And there was some decent counters in the matchup. I think like Miz tried to skull crush the finale once, and it got countered. So, but of course, the ending came when Miz, after numerous attempts, didn't, like I said, didn't get the figure 4 leg lock on Wade Barrett. I call it kind of a cheap win, but it continues Axel's winning ways of getting cheap victories, as he's been winning by like DQs, countouts, and distractions. Where he wins this match in the IC title, for that matter, by beating Wade Barrett, while Wade Barrett was in the figure 4 leg lock by Miz. That's kind of a cheap way to win, but cheap or not, we have a new IC champion, which is Curtis Axel. What perfect way to celebrate your father's legacy on Father's Day than winning the same title your dad won. Like I still think Curtis Axel isn't ready for IC Championship. He, in my mind, Michael McCurdy coming in, he hasn't shown me that he has the passion. He's performed somewhere around the matches, but he's won cheaply, like I mentioned, winning by count out to Triple H and John Cena, especially a cheap match against Triple H on Monday. And he may wrestle him tomorrow night. What would happen if Triple H does take on Axel for the IC Championship tomorrow? If the match does happen. Continue that whole McMahon Triple H storyline. But of course, a bigger question that came to my mind was, what would have happened if Fandango was not injured? Was Fandango booked to win the IC Championship? Did he basically replace the ending with Axel winning it? Because Fandango was booked to win it until he got injured? Who knows? We'll probably see a lot of stories about that. So that's the question that fell into my mind. What would have happened if Fandango did wrestle? Would he have won the IC Championship if he wasn't injured? We'll probably never know unless there's some story. There'll probably be some backstage story on the WrestleZone.com. I give that match a 2.2 for a decent opener. Pretty good fast-paced matchup. Even though it kind of felt like a handicap match for the early point until Axel finally got in it. Despite being a punching bag. It was kind of like a punching bag for the first half. Then he finally got in it. And of course got that, in my mind, cheap victory, opportunistic victory for Mr. Axel being the new IC champion. The next matchup, which was for the Divas Championship, which was, of course, KAITLYN defending her championship against AJ. KAITLYN's been, of course, in rage lately after this whole Cinco de Mayo thing turned out to be a nasty joke by AJ. I thought it was going to be a joke put by Bellatrix, but to heat up their feud, AJ pulled the plank on KAITLYN, and of course, KAITLYN was enraged. Like I mentioned, and it showed in the early half as KAITLYN. It was like a cat fight for the early half of the matchup, like pulling hair, dragging each other across the ring, beating each other outside the ring until AJ nailed a dropkick from the apron. And it was actually, like Divas match, it wasn't that bad. It was kind of emotional because it's just an intense matchup. They were just beating each other up, but it was a typical Divas match. When it comes to wrestling, but when it comes to emotion, there was a lot of emotion in this match. It was very intense. They were just beating the crap out of each other. Especially, like, every blow came on, and Big E came out, and I thought Big E was going to interfere, but I'm surprised he didn't. KAITLYN didn't get locked up in AJ's Black Widow a few times, but the main kicker what really sealed KAITLYN's fate in this matter was when KAITLYN, after getting back into the match after a late fury from AJ. She got back in the match by nailing the spear, but instead of pinning AJ, she blew a kiss to AJ, which, unfortunately for KAITLYN, gave AJ enough time to kick out after the spear. And then, of course, what really knocked out KAITLYN's lights was KAITLYN going for another big move at the turnbuckle, but she nailed the turnbuckle on her head, which gave AJ the opportunity to indeed nail the Black Widow again. I think it was like the third or fourth attempt. And despite trying to fight out of it again, because AJ did have it on a few times, and KAITLYN did fall out of it the first couple times, but unfortunately this time, KAITLYN couldn't fight out of the Black Widow, and she had to tap out. And AJ won the Divas Championship. And AJ was celebrating. KAITLYN was crying. I don't know if they were fake tears or real tears, but AJ was, KAITLYN was kind of crying after the match. It was just kind of an emotional match with KAITLYN when it comes to this storyline, this whole Secret Admirer thing. She was so attached to it, but the final was a joke. Like, she basically got humiliated by AJ on Monday, and now she lost the Divas Championship. She was vulnerable. She let AJ play like a fiddle with this whole storyline, and who knows? Maybe the Wyatt family are going to feed off her. That's what I'm hearing, because Wyatt brought the family, who we saw another promo from, here they're like some sort of a cult that feed on people in their weakness. And KAITLYN could be their weakness. So there you go. 2.0 out of 5. Like I said, when it comes to wrestling, typical lack of Divas wrestling, especially I love the I miss Lita sign. It's more like I miss the old Divas division. Not just Lita, like the whole entire Divas division from the Attitude Era. Trish and Lita and Molly Holly, Victoria and Ivory and Jacqueline. Go down the line. Jazz even. So there you go. I didn't mention this. I saw a guy with a Benoit shirt on. I was by security to catch him, especially the whole WWE trying to erase Benoit from the history books. Now we had 2 title changes to begin. Like I said, 2.0 for that Divas match. And would it be 3 for 3? In our 3rd title match of the evening, it was Dean Ambrose taking on Kane for the United States Championship. Now, Kane, of course, feeling on revenge. And, of course, on the pay-per-view title. Payback on the Shield for causing him pain for the last few months. He, of course, came in like, well, another part of the House of Fire. Well, he is voting. And Kane indeed dominated with his strength and power. But, of course, Ambrose, being smart and sneaky, did find a way to come back in the matchup with some killer moves, including a nasty DDT, which of course sealed Kane's fate when it came down to the ending. But indeed, Ambrose uses speed in this matchup, and of course Kane uses strength. This matchup, and of course Ambrose countered out of every attack from Kane for a chokeslam. And the match is, I thought the match between Miz and Barrett and AXEL ended cheaply. I think this match also ended cheaply. As Ambrose and Kane, they eventually took it outside. I was like the spot when Ambrose tried to do old school at one point, but Kane got it blocked out. It was an okay matchup. It was pretty good. It was a pretty decent IC, US title match, I meant to say, sorry. After that old school attempt got thwarted by Kane, kind of symbolism. Even Kane for the big high-flying move later on, but Ambrose countered that. It was an okay matchup. And as Kane was trying to fight back after the theory from Ambrose, they fought outside the ring, even kneeling outside the broadcast table. Referee was counting. And Kane got a DDT on the floor by Ambrose, and Ambrose got back in the ring in a count-out victory for Mr. Ambrose, retaining the U.S. Championship. I thought that was kind of cheap. Like I said, I thought the ending of the IC Championship match was cheap, but it was just more cheaply because it was a count-out victory for Ambrose. I smell a rematch probably with Kane all night on Raw. I'll give this match a 1 point. No, I'll get a 2.0 as well. It was a decent matchup. The ending was kind of cheap. So there you go. Ambrose and Kane. Ambrose retaining the U.S. Championship. Now, the announcement of the night that got me excited. After months of rumors about him coming back, especially when the rumors were flying about him being the new Heyman guy, which turned out not to be him, but he is coming back at Money in the Bank. You saw me doing this in the beginning of the video. Well, of course, I wish he was coming back tomorrow night at Raw in Grand Rapids because he's from Battle Creek, Michigan. But at Money in the Bank, we will see the return of Rob Van Dam. Yes, after 6 years away as a full-time WWE competitor, RVD returns at Money in the Bank. Now, it's been rumors for months. He's been out of TNA for a few months, and he was at the WWE Hall of Fame. That sparked rumors about his return. Especially there was rumors of him being the new Heyman guy. There was Curtis Axel to everybody, including my disappointment. If you saw my Raw review of that night, I thought it was RVD even. I was kind of hoping for RVD's return, but now RVD is going to come back at Money in the Bank on June 14th, July 14th. Can't wait to see RVD back. I think RVD said in the past he wasn't going to come back to WWE because of scheduling, but hey, RVD's back in WWE. We'll see how he does. Back, he's a tremendous wrestler, and I can't wait to see Rob Van Dam back in the WWE. I met him before. He's a cool dude, despite the pot smoking. But can't wait to see RVD back in the WWE and Money in the Bank. So that's the best announcement of the night. Now, on with, I call this a screw job, in my mind, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Dolph Ziggler defended against Alberto Del Rio. I smell a heel turn. There's one match that brings the mind to this matchup and to resolve this matchup. It was, ironically, and you hear Cohen King say, there's been many great matches held at this arena in Chicago. Who would ever forget Stone Cold and Bret Hart? That classic submission match at WrestleMania 13, where Bret Hart came in as the face and Austin came in as the heel. And Bret Hart beat the crap out of Austin and nailed that Also, historic moment of Austin in the sharpshooter, bloody as hell, passing out from the pain without fully giving up. And the sympathy vote caused Bret Hart to turn heel and Austin to turn face. Well, you can kind of think that same result kind of happened tonight. It was Dolph Ziggler's first full match since coming back from a concussion. And indeed, Alberto likes to target people's injuries. Or in his case, he likes to focus on the arm. But as we saw tonight, I've never seen Alberto, when it comes to his character, become so vicious tonight. He just really fed off and really nailed the target of the head of Mr. Ziggler. And he got destroyed tonight. Ziggler got annihilated by Alberto. Like every kick of the head, you could hear every smack of every kick of Alberto to the head, like just like that. It was like really hard hitting. And there was even a few points in the matchup when Big E got thrown out, and even the medical people came out trying to tell Ziggler, quit the match. But Ziggler never gave up. That's the point. Like the Bret Hart Austin match, Austin got beat up so bad, but Austin never quit. Same with Ziggler. And every little ounce of energy that Ziggler did have, he did try to nail his moves. He even botched the move. I think he tried the zigzag once, or another, his head scissors move. He kind of botched that. So that was kind of like an effect. And like I said, Alberto came in as a face, and Ziggler came in as a heel. Like the Austin Bret Hart match made a double turn, this match may have caused a double turn with Ziggler being face and Alberto turning heel. After, of course, minutes of just torture to Mr. Ziggler, and despite, like I said, Ziggler did nail a zigzag, but unfortunately, Ziggler didn't have enough energy left in the tank to capitalize on that one little opportunity that he had on retaining the World Heavyweight Championship. But that one, that one last kick from Alberto sailed the coffin. Like the last kick after the zigzag, that last kick at the end, that nailed, unfortunately, Ziggler's coffin as Dolph Ziggler loses and Alberto Del Rio becomes the new World Heavyweight Championship. Now I call it a screw job, in my mind, because Dolph Ziggler won the championship at the War After Mania in New Jersey, and then before his first pay-per-view title defense, he had to be injured, which caused the number one contenders match to be made against Jack Swagger and Alberto Del Rio. And this was Dolph Ziggler's first and unfortunately only title defense at a pay-per-view. Never got to defend a title at a pay-per-view until now because of his injury. He never come back just to make him lose the title. In my mind, he should have been stripped. And to save him the embarrassment of getting his butt whipped, his ass beaten by Alberto, they should have just stripped him of the title and made Alberto Jack Swagger a title match instead of making a number one contender. But in the end, I think it was better, almost better this way, because it kind of segues for Ziggler face turn, because there was a lot of people. You can hear the crowd too really turn on Alberto after Alberto was just so vicious. It reminded me of a Brock Lesnar match, just a beatdown. That's what it was, you know. Just Alberto just beat the crap out of Ziggler, really capitalizing on that injury, really focusing on it. Because I guess Alberto always focuses on the arm to seal the cross arm breaker, but this time he had a real target, that neck, that head. And especially after he came back out and delivered that promo at the end, saying, "I do this for you, Chicago." He's speaking in Spanish, cheering. You can hear the fans were really booing. So like I said, I think a couple heel turns were teased this evening. I heard there'll be some heel turns teased, but I think no one expected Alberto to probably tease a heel turn. And I'll tell you other possible heel turn teases that were teased this evening later on. So there you go. I'll give this match 2.2. You know, just because of just the tolerance that Dolph Ziggler took. Dolph Ziggler, I think everybody can echo my sentiments that I have a newfound respect for Ziggler. Because Ziggler took it like a man. Despite getting screwed on a Christian 2 years ago after only winning the championship for days until he got put in that last minute match against Randy Orton after Ironically, beating Alberto Del Rio in a ladder match at Extreme Rules 2011. Then everyone's got a newfound respect for Dolph Ziggler taking it. Taking the punishment and not quitting. Just the elements of pain that Dolph Ziggler went through in this matchup. Like I said, it could possibly seal a face turn for Mr. Ziggler and a heel turn for Alberto. That's what happened during the Bret Hart-Austin match. Hart, who came in as face, turned heel. Austin was heel, turned face in that match. Same in this match possibly, and ironically the same building that match happened. Alberto turns heel and Ziggler possibly turns face. So there you go. Alberto Del Rio, your new world champion. 3 champions, like I said, crowned this evening. New Divas champion. The only championship left in the Dolph Ziggler camp, with AJ winning the Divas championship tonight. Curtis Axel winning the IC championship. And of course, the new world champion, Alberto Del Rio. Now, on our next match, in my mind, and I think everyone will probably equal my sentiments as well. Match of the night, in my opinion. And who can expect anything left from these two? The match that I was really looking forward to, and I've been saying it for weeks on Raw, ever since this match was announced. This is the only thing about the pay-per-view that I knew was going to be awesome. And it didn't disappoint. It was the return of CM Punk taking on Chris Jericho. Now, in my mind, and many other people's minds, that Punk's return may have come too soon. They should have made him wait a little longer. But you know what? It was great to have Punk back. And Punk had a new look about him. Punk has hair again. Look at this shirt. He's shaving on this. Like, you look at this photo on his shirt. He got hair back. He grew hair again. He shaved the middle part. He had no facial hair on the chin or the lips. He had mutton chops on the side. Didn't look like he looked like Wolverine for a moment. He looked like Hugh Jackman for a moment, in my opinion. But anyway, nice to see Punk back in this match. Did not disappoint. And it started off slow, and I knew it was going to start off slow and it was going to have a fast finish. Boy, did it. Like I said, these two guys that wrestled last year at WrestleMania Extreme Rules, and I knew this match was going to be a great match, and boy, oh boy, like I said, it did not disappoint. And like I said, it started off slow, and I knew it was going to start off slow, but the point that really started the wheels turning, I said near the 10-15 minute point. This match was very long, and I'm glad he gave it all the time in the world for the fight for the best in the world. And the point of the match that really made it fast was the Walls of Jericho Anaconda Vice counters. Like, Jericho had the Walls of Jericho on the first time, and then Punk countered it to the Anaconda Vice, and then it really turned it on. Neo fall after Neo fall, counter after counter. There were so many killer spots. By the way, I need to mention something. I forgot to mention one other spot in the Del Rio Ziggler match. I forgot to mention the backwards neckbreaker move kind of that Alberto did on Ziggler. Like, he did like a backwards neckbreaker thing off the top. I forgot to mention that move in the Ziggler-Alberto match. I forgot to mention that move. But back to Jericho Punk, it was just counter after counter. I think Punk nailed his move. I think it took him he did 6 GTS attempts, 3 that connected. Jericho did a cold breaker a few times, including a cold breaker in midair, which I kind of saw coming. But it was a killer move nonetheless. And just so many counters. Near fall. I even like the one counter of, I think Punk was doing the GTS, and then Punk countered it to the Wall of Jericho. No, that was a tilt-a-wall. That was one of the favorite spots in this match. There's so many killer spots. Like, the spot when Punk was going for Hurricane Rana, then Jericho turned into a Wall of Jericho. That was a great counter. Because these two guys know each other left and right, and they wrestle each other a lot. And this match lived up to my expectations. And the end came with Punk nailing not 1, but 2 GTSs in a row, really nailing it in the 1-2-3 victory, even with a little inadvertent distraction for Paul Heyman. CM Punk, in his hometown, beat Chris Jericho in a great match. You know, it was just, what is left to say about this match? I knew these two were going to put on an epic match, and boy, oh boy, they do not disappoint, and I knew it was going to be great. And like I said, it was the only saving grace of this pay-per-view, and boy, oh boy, did it live up to it, especially when we would see the main event. I think many people were like, fuck the rest of the card after this match. The crowd did, as you would know. I think that's why I said the crowd's dead. You know, this match took everything out of the fans. Like, the response was just killer. You know, the crowd was basically, well, it's Chicago, so you expect a pro-Punk crowd, and boy, oh boy, the Punk got a great reception, man. When Punk came out, it was like one of those goosebump moments. You know, the crowd was just eating it up, and, you know, it's just a great matchup, and I don't think, I guess, probably, I don't know how to rank this match against the other matches. Probably the second best match they've had. It was just very intense for being in the hometown. I think Extreme Rules was also in Chicago as well. So, there you go. CM Punk, Pretty Chris Jericho. God, I'm going to give this a 3.5. I was going to give it a 3.0, but I said, fuck it, just give it 3.5. It was just that great of a matchup. And match of the night, like I said, for sure. Jericho and Punk getting the victory in Chicago, coming back. Can't wait to see Punk back on Raw tomorrow night. Should be very excited to see Punk deliver another pipe bomb. Now, on with our next matchup, which, like I said, started the crowd dying out, especially after getting the air sucked out of them in that Punk Jericho match, taking a lot out of them, which is why it should have been the co-main event, not the third to last match. Tag team title match, Orton and Daniel Bryan. The fan name team of RKO taking on Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose's other buddy, Roman Reigns. Now, despite their problems, Bryan and Orton did almost kind of work together, almost. Bryan came in, he started off the match once again. I've said it on my Raw review, I've said it on many of my Raw reviews lately. I think this whole storyline of Bryan being the weak link is really giving the best, making him it's like really fueling him. Is lit a fire on the Bryan and has made him the best he's ever been. You know, he's been on a roll lately. He's just really intense lately. He's really lit a fire on him when it comes to intensity. He already had enough intensity, but it's just lit a bigger fire on him. And it showed in the beginning of the matchup. As Bryan once again came in like a man possessed. Trying to use a new pun besides House of Fire like I always do in my videos. But after the early fury from Bryan across the Shield, despite losing their first 6-man tag on SmackDown on Friday, I didn't see it, but I read it, that indeed finds a way to trip Bryan up and get the comeback for the Shield. But the Shield once again do what they do best. Isolate Bryan in the corner, get the quick tags in. Orton got the tag in. And it seemed like Orton was going to finish the match quickly. Because I was looking at the clock, I was like, dang, it's 10. You have an hour left, because they gave Punk and Jericho a lot of time, which was deserved, like I said. So, I was like, how much time is the tag team match going to be? To save room for that, what would be a terrible main event. So anyway, Orton did nail a DDT on Rollins. He was going to set that up, but then Roman Reigns got one for his helping after trying to interfere. But then after the DDT not double DDT, but he got to do a double DDT like one after the other. Orton was ready to nail the RKO, and I guess get the quick finish until he got blocked and got that nasty Superman punch. By the way, I keep forgetting to mention things. There's always things I always seem to forget. I forgot to mention the spot between Ziggler and Alberto. Forgot to mention AJ used the belt against the only closest thing to cheating in the AJ KAITLYN match without Big E helping was AJ beating KAITLYN with a belt that KAITLYN took off of AJ, and then AJ used as a weapon. Forgot to mention that. Sorry. There's a lot of things I'll probably forget to mention, so bear with me if I say any other forgot to mentions during this review of things that I missed. Even Evan Bornstein was seen tonight. Anyway, then after Orton got blocked the RKO, Bryan came back in, and despite the crowd dying out after the Punk Jericho match, the crowd really got into Bryan, and the crowd was really intense for Bryan. Of course, Bryan came in like a house of fire again after the tagging. But then Orton and D-Bry's miscommunication problems seemed to haunt them. And I saw the spot from a mile away as Daniel Bryan took both Rollins and Reigns out of the ring and waited nail a flying goat move. I saw Orton in the back of the turnbuckle behind the Shield. I was like, Shield's going to move and Orton's going to get hit. Well, saw that spot. Orton got hit. Then, unfortunately, like I said, started the train of motion when it comes to D-Bryan Orton's downfall. D-Bryan did nail no luck once or twice. But then Orton got in after Rollins got out of the no luck again. It was waiting nail RKO on Rollins until Rollins pushed Orton to D-Bryan. But then they almost hit each other until RKO's Reigns. After Reigns speared D-Bryan at the inverted collision by Orton D-Bryan, Orton ducked and Daniel Bryan got speared. And after that spear, RKO, like I said, on Reigns, then Rollins came back. There's no other way to say this move from Seth Rollins that he did on D-Bryan after getting the spear. Eat the feet, like a foot stomp move by Rollins. And a 1-2-3 victory for the Shield, retaining the Tag Team Championships. Now, besides the aforementioned possible heel turn of Alberto Del Rio BTs, I think finally we could get a heel turn from Orton or a heel turn from D-Bryan. Especially rumors of D-Bryan wrestling CENA soon. So there you go. This match I'll give another 2.0 to. Now, on our main event, my mind, besides Triple H and Brock Lesnar last month at Extreme Rules, worst main event in a while. 3 stages of hell. More like 3 stages of heck. Or 3 stages of zzz. John Cena versus Ryback. First fall, lumberjack match. God, you can tell the match isn't going to be the best. And I thought their last man standing match was more entertaining than this. I thought the last man standing match at Extreme Rules was going to suck. Yet it was more exciting than this, I can tell you. It was more exciting. It was more intense. Because the match, it started off rough for being a lumberjack match. Like, I was already against this 3 stages of heck when it was announced. You know, I was like, a lumberjack match? What's so dangerous about a lumberjack match? You know, I knew this match was gonna suck from the get-go. Boy, it did. Worse, like I said, worse than the last man standing match. The only good thing was that one spot Cena did when he flew on top of the lumberjacks. When the lumberjacks brought, I saw that spot. Knowing, you know, me being a wrestling fan for so long, I can kind of see spots, including one spot during the third fall, which I knew was gonna be a tie. Like, I knew it was gonna be a tie, and I knew it was gonna go to the third fall, and I kind of predicted the ending spot on the nose, which I will say in a moment. But despite Ryback won the first fall, delivering a shell shock to Cena. And Cena did almost nail his 5 moves of doom in the first fall, but he didn't. And this first fall kind of set the pace for this boring pace of the matchup. It's like not exciting at all. You know, lumberjacks, like the heels beat up the heel. I mean, heels beat up the face beat up the heel. Then until Ryback did punch a heel lumberjack until he got the pin in the first fall. So Ryback won the first fall and on to a second fall in the tables match. Which, like I said, once again, proving the slow pace was just boring. You know, just punching and kicking. And you could kind of tell it was going to be bad when every time Cena and Ryback were trying to push each other through a table, one would miss. Like, more tables were being smashed without people on it. You know, that kind of tells you how stupid this match was going to be. So, anywho, like, every time, like, Ryback went for, even, I think Cena went for a move early on, but then Ryback pushed the table and then counted Cena's FU. And then Cena then eventually got the FU on Ryback through a table and got the second fall, which I knew Cena was going to win that second fall. I think everybody knew Cena was going to get that second fall. Predictable. Speaking of predictable, like I said, I predicted the end of the match on the fucking nose. The ambulance match. you know, if this match wasn't boring enough, it became more boring as they fought to the ambulance. Even Ryback smashed his all through a window, and even smashed the door, and Goldberg chants galore, and the crowd was dead by this point, you know. It wasn't the crowd's fault, it was the match's fault. And like I said, Cena and Jericho sucked the air on the crowd because it was so intense. This just basically sucked the rest of the air out because it was so damn boring, in my mind. So after Cena won that second fall, like, you know, they even tried to nail weapons, you know. This wasn't 3 Stages of Hell, like I said, it was 3 Stages of Z. So they used some weapons at one point, and then after Ryback was destroying Cena again, I said, I was watching it with my dad and my friend, I said to both of them, when Cena was going for the ambulance, he was climbing on top of the ambulance at one point, even nailing a light. I said, I predict that John Cena will F you Ryback through the roof of the ambulance, and Ryback will fall through the roof, land the ambulance, and Cena will win. Like I said, I predicted the ending on the fucking nose. Yep, as I predicted it, John Cena did F you Ryback through the roof of the ambulance. It fell through. Ryback in the ambulance. John Cena wins. Retains the WWE Championship in an uneventful 3 Stages of Hell match. Now, this is TVPG 3 Stages of Hell. Or more like 3 Stages of Z, you know. Because like I said, 3 Stages of Hell matches have happened before. They're supposed to be bloody and intense and exciting. This one was just lackluster in my opinion. Especially this pay-per-view actually wasn't that bad. It was some excitement. Especially fucking Jericho. And it just ended, in my mind, on a bad note with this match. So, 1.5 out of 5 for this match. It just ended up on a bad note. And despite that bad note, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, like I always tend at the beginning of the video, announce my overall pay-per-view review rating. I forgot to this time. I seem to forget a lot of things, like I said. I forgot to mention spots in the AJ match, spots in the Alberto match, which I did bring back up doing reviews of other matches. And I forgot to mention my overall rating for the pay-per-view, 7.0 out of 10. It would have been 7.5 if the Cena match didn't suck the air out of the room, and there was at least maybe 1 or 2 more great matches besides Punk and Jericho. So that's my overall pay-per-view rating, 7.0 out of 10, probably my highest rating for pay-per-view. Probably, despite the Cena Ryback match, actually not, like I said, not that bad of a pay-per-view. There was some intense excitement and some screw jobs, but still. So then we got 3 new champions. Punk return and all VD set to return at Money in the Bank. That is it for my review for tonight for this pay-per-view. Once again, 7.0 out of 10, my overall review. I'll see you all later with that in mind. You have all been attacked by this review from Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Yeah.